All right, so it appears somebody at the Activision Blizzard, maybe Call of Duty offices, somebody on a reinforcement or a band team, marketing team, it could be anybody in one of those multiple different teams. Somebody didn't like what Nickmercs had to say about certain political topics, he will say. And yeah, there was a DLC pack that got dropped. So what does all this mean? Who is Nick Merckx? We're gonna jump into a lot of this stuff because it is getting a little ridiculous with these companies and just the way that they are treating their consumers on top of people that they're working with. So Nick Merckx is basically a content creator. He's been in esports for a long time. We've known about him, like the E League and stuff. He has ties in with E League. For those that don't know, is professional Call of Duty players. They're on teams. They have marketing. They have DLCs out there, which DLCs is downloadable content for the games. They make profit off from you downloading different DLC packs that have their logos on it or the team that they're affiliated with. I do believe Nick Merckx is part of FaZe. So I don't really mess with the esports stuff anymore. I used to back in the day, but it got very, it's there's always a slight bit of politics in with it. There was no E League a number of years ago. That changed when Call of Duty tried to get more like like the regular like MLB or an NBA or something like that. And of course, with when you have those people that have run other companies or other organizations like that, like the leagues of the NBA, the MLB, all that, you're going to have this stuff start creeping in. So, what happens? Charlie Intel was the first one. That's the one I just read off. It appears Activision has removed the Nick Merckx pack from Warzone MW2. So, Call of Duty's response to this was due to recent events, we have removed the Nick Merckx operator bundle from Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone storefronts. We are focused on celebrating pride with our employees and our community. The community didn't really respond too well to this. Found the pedo. So this is actually Alex Zadra. She plays Mara in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. Which that character did not come back for season 2. So it's not overly surprising that her character didn't come back, but it could be a fact of, Alexandra is very vocal about going against some stuff. Like she has a mind of her own, so of course not acceptable as much. Well, I guess Call of Duty games just fell off my shopping list. You're gonna see the backlash from this because not everybody agrees with the Rainbow Squad over there, the cult stuff that keeps getting pushed in everybody's face. So again, this is like one of these things where you really need to hear the person saying it themselves to get the full context of what they're talking about. So in his words, apparently this is what he said about the whole thing. This was on TikTok.
I didn't like what I was seeing, man. Okay, I saw parents brawling in front of a fucking school with kids. I just didn't fucking like it. I'm sure a lot of you guys can understand how that video would piss some people off. It pissed me off. Okay. Now, I mean, full transparency. I like. How do I put this? I'm gonna be very, very careful here. I don't want to piss anybody off. I'm making a lot of people mad. Wasn't my intention. I mean, listen, my wife and I just had a baby. Brand new father. We seeing these kinds of videos. It's sad, But her and I agree that we want to be the ones to talk to our kid about things like that. I'm trying to keep it really simple, just so we don't have to get too crazy about it, because there's nothing to get crazy about. It's just it really is that simple. I think I just have a bigger perspective on this now, being a parent, than I did maybe 2 months ago. So the video bothered me, right? And that's I just don't think it's any place for a teacher or a school. I don't think it's the place to speak about things like that. And it's not that I think that it shouldn't be spoken about. If that's what you got from that tweet, then you're just wrong. I don't have any quarrel with anybody in here. I don't have any quarrel with people on the internet. It wasn't an anti, I guess, gay tweet. That wasn't what it was. Now, Now, listen, if you have issues with me or if you have issues with that tweet, then hey, listen, I'm down to agree to disagree. That's fine.
It's unfortunate, but I know where he's coming from with that, because if you say one word, then it's like companies will just blacklist you. They will not work with you. It's a whole culture in, it's not just gaming, it's like tech overall. And it's actually any company that has a marketing team, this is the culture that they have created now, where people are just like, hey, I'm not trying to start a whole bunch of trouble, but if I say one word and speak my mind on anything, done, you're canceled, you're blacklisted, you're, this, that, you're gone from the companies, which is a terrible way of, that totally goes against everything that majority of their consumer base, and I'm not even just talking Americans, but I'm talking about like whether it's US, Europe, anywheres in the world, everybody wants the ability to say something about a certain thing that they do not agree with. That's the reason why even people over in Asia have been fighting for the right to be able to speak at all without just getting beaten down and all that. Thanks to people like Elon Musk and everything, that has made it so your tweet just doesn't get like, just blacklisted and, you just get wiped off from Twitter and everything. He can go on Twitter and say something like this. There should be no repercussions to this. But because we are living in this weird, thing of, oh, well, if you don't agree with our political view, then we're just going to blacklist you. And not have, there is no discussion there. It's just like, you're done, you're gone, because we don't agree with one thing you said. This is what you end up getting is this frame of mind right here of like, man, I don't want to start stuff, and I have to be very careful with the words that I'm saying. You should be able to just speak your mind. That is pretty much what the Constitution is all about. He isn't hurting anybody. The tweet was just like, hey, this is a different viewpoint on the thing, like he was saying.
We can agree to disagree, but if you think that I hate you because you're a certain way, you just couldn't be any more wrong. That's not the truth. I've said things in my past. I've done things in my past. We all have. Okay. People grow. People get better. It's part of life, man.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've grown a lot as a human being on planet. I'm sure we all have. Okay. I do not feel that way. I just simply feel that I want to be the one, and my wife wants to be the one to speak with our child about stuff like that.
Is that such a terrible stance to have? It is, if you're in that weird rainbow community thing where they're just like, okay, we need to have full control over what the next generation is thinking and feeling and saying, and and pronouns and all that stuff. Also, so this is the DLC pack that is in question. He's had that DLC pack in the shop for a little while, and we're going to get into the profit margin of a pack like this, of like what the cost of these packs are, and probably roughly how much he might be making off from it, because if they're taking this, they're taking away his paycheck, and that's another giant discussion point that we need to get into. All right, so I don't want to show the actual video, but this is basically what he was talking about, which was a video that a lot of people saw. It went very viral, as you can see, 1.9 million. But if you want to say the ratio, I think that's the correct way of saying it. He got 9.5 million for saying this, for sticking up for the children. They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue. That's all he said. That's all he said. It's a grown-up conversation and a grown-up argument that the kids are getting dragged into, that they are trying to push agendas onto, which is just the most backwards way of it should be down to the parents, absolutely, just like he said there. And him having a kid, I think that's going to be as Nickmercs said, he's said stuff in the past, and he's affiliated with FaZe, and it's like, FaZe has had such a rocky history in the past. That's why I was always on the side of other teams when they were competing and everything back in the day. Like FaZe, Optic, there's a giant rivalry in the esports community between those two teams. FaZe has had multiple people have come out to say really crazy stuff, but In this instance, Nickmercs is actually making a very fair, valid points. This is what this is the other side of the conversation. Again, I'm about having the dialogue back and forth. So what you don't understand is attitudes like Nickmercs are what radical bigots take advantage of. Being complicit with banning LGBT education was the beginning. This is already happening. I've been out of the closet for 17 years. We are moving backwards and fast. Stony, what the hell is that? Ron DeSantis signs so-called and don't say gay bill. People like this that are saying something like this, so they are trying to pivot the conversation away from what one person is just trying to say of, hey, parents themselves, their kids that they made, it is their job to parent the kids the way they see fit. Maybe your viewpoints don't reflect the same viewpoints of the majority of everyone else in your community or the country that you live in. So maybe that's something that you need to take in consideration on your own self. Also, one other thing 4 hours ago at the recording of this, friends are created in good times, but families are built through adversity. Appreciate all of you that have my back, understand my position as a new father, and recognize the love I have for all. Ain't no hate in this hard. Peace and love. Again, it's somebody who has come a long ways, who has grown up a lot. He's done crazy campaigns like this before, but respect to Nickmercs for standing up for what he believes in, and standing up for his family. That's a giant thing too. You need to definitely recognize that he is standing up for his family, something that he created, and that he is wanting to be a good influence and a good role model for. So that's something, kudos for that. Okay, so if we come into calling cards, somebody was also saying that for the longest time, the American flag was actually missing from the calling cards on Call of Duty, which this is a profile customization. When you jump into the game, you'll see, like over there, you'll see on their profile, there's a calling card. Like mine's down below. I have a lot of black and gold. That's usually what I run on my profile. Now, when you came in here, apparently, I don't know, I can't confirm this, but apparently before, if you came in here for the longest time, the American flag was actually missing. But I do remember from day one, because usually I run the American flag just to start off with until I unlock more stuff to put on my profile. But I do remember all these pride flags were here. So there's I counted when you cycle through all these, like that's a whole bundle of them in here for free. Which is the count came up to 20 different pride flags as you're scrolling through. There's a bunch of different calling cards that you can use. There pretty much every single country has their flag represented because Call of Duty is sold in every single country in the world. Still, like, there's just so many pride flags. What do they need all these pride flags for? You would think they would have like one genuine flag that goes across everything that they could all salute or say their prayers to, or whatever they do. So also to show in the storefront, like, yes, the Nickmerc pack is gone from the storefronts. We have Kevin Durant's in here, esports Call of Duty League, as I was talking about. Like I said, it's a whole like esports league, as they call it. And then we have like down here, we still have the FaZe pack. Like Nickmercs is part of FaZe. It would be something else if he got dropped from FaZe. But the thing is, like, FaZe is run by a little bit of a younger generation. I'm pretty sure. I don't follow esports a whole lot with Call of Duty, but from what I've seen, it is a little bit of a different mindset than a lot of the rest of the industry when it comes to FaZe. And it used to be that same way with like Optic Gaming and everything. But yeah, all these different teams, they all have their different esports package deals. And basically, you would get a paycheck. From what I know, you get a paycheck between both your team one that gets divided, and then also what would be your own personal pack if you have one in the storefront. So let's just check out Tim the Tatman's pack, for instance, pricings and everything. So you would get the character that I showed off before, that was like that Spartan looking character there with a gun. You would get weapon skins with this pack, a takedown, It's a weapon charm, and again, it's just stuff that is totally marketed and catered to the content creator that they are working with, that they signed a deal with. So it's 2,400 COD points. So what does that mean? So if we come over here to the storefront, you can see that 2,400 COD points is $20. So it's $20 for one of these packs. So if you have millions of people that are playing Call of Duty, and potentially every single one of them are buying a $20 DLC pack, which I have my fair share of complaints about the pricing on Call of Duty stuff, but that is how big of a paycheck. It's like 20 times, possibly, potentially a million. So we're talking like Nickmercs could potentially be losing out on like maybe $20 million if there's like 1 million people that are checking out because Activision Blizzard is always, well, Activision and Call of Duty are always boasting that there's, they have millions of players worldwide. Okay. Well, I mean, if you go by their marketing and their whole hyped up stuff, information for Call of Duty, then that is potentially, like I said, like $20 million that like one creator could potentially make. I'm not saying that he makes $20 million. I'm saying like even $1 million, a fraction of that, if he's losing out on that and he has a family just because of a single tweet that they didn't agree with, now they're going to take his stuff off the storefront and they're just going to be like, no, you will not get that paycheck. So what happens if FaZe tries to give him a percentage of this paycheck to try and help out, even it out or whatever, because they're looking out for one of their own teammates and everything. And Call of Duty says, well, no, we don't agree with him, so we're going to blacklist the FaZe teams to pack also. It can possibly spiral like that. And to me, it's just like, it's crazy that we're here in 2023, that we are at this point where, even like the Kevin Durant pack, it's not just like one pack. Like all these, they cost like $20 a piece. Again, I have like my own thoughts on the pricing. It's like everything is very overpriced on Call of Duty, but that's because people are trying to make a lot of money off from this stuff. When it comes down to who's at fault for all this stuff, it could be a handful of people from a bunch of different teams that work, because Call of Duty it's thousands of developers. It's hundreds of people working on marketing teams, on public relation teams, on community management teams. Anything from forums to social media to tech support, whatever you want to say. There is hundreds of people working in every single one of these departments. It's the way that all these tech companies work. Twitter has the same thing going on. That's the reason why Elon got rid of a lot of people, because they had this mindset of like, well, we're going to blacklist people that don't agree with what I think. And we're already seeing a bunch of people give thoughts on all this stuff. Like I said, Alex Zadra, the one that played Mara on Mara Warfare. We've also seen Dr. Disrespect, uninstall the game. It's not, Doc does that. He does that a lot with uninstalling games and, making a big deal out of it. That's just kind of his brand. But other people who have, been very loyal to Call of Duty are also sticking up, because that Nickmercs is their buddy. Like you're literally, it's a corporation going against one of your best friends, and that does not settle well with people that are influencers and people in the community that, overall, when you have a majority of the community not agreeing with this basically hot take from Call of Duty, if you will. I was saying, due to recent events, we have removed the Nickmercs operator bundle because we are focused on celebrating pride with our employees and our community. Well, you are missing the community part. You are not even connected with the community if you are not standing with the overall majority of what people are actually thinking here. It's a giant disconnect, and it's because when you have that side of the conversation with the rainbows, with the LGBT and all that stuff, there is no conversation that can be had, because they always take the conversation, they go one other different direction with it. Or if you just try to ask them a question, like was woman, for example, they lose their minds. They have no idea how to process that conversation. They don't want to process the conversation, because then they start to think, maybe this doesn't fully make sense, what we're saying, what we're boasting, what we're marketing, essentially. A community member, as I just said, Dr. Disrespect, which also he has a kid of his own and everything too. So this is what the doc has said.
I mean, don't get a mistake. This year's Call of Duty is the worst in its franchise.
Staying very true to brand.
But that decision by COD's PR marketing team, I'll tell you right now, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to digest for the two-time. I feel like, A, they either need to apologize publicly to him or reinstate his bundle in order for me to consider playing Call of Duty again. That's where I'm at. But we got it.
So if you notice just the way that everybody is talking about this, because if you get blacklisted from any company, you're probably not working with them ever again. And we're just seeing it, one thing after another of, we're going to uninstall. Articulate sentences still get misinterpreted. Ollie Pancake, somebody would say, so you hate waffles, So Elon Musk himself, Nickmercs wants kids to be kids and not deal with nonsense, and he's the villain. Exactly. That's a very good way of putting it. Is like, man, let the kids be kids. The parents need to be doing what the parents do. Why do these people just want to keep jumping into parents' business? Let the parents do the parenting. You are there to teach math, writing, history, science. You're not there to be teaching cultural, political stuff to kids. That's not why the kids are supposed to be in school. That's not. But then again, this school system is so messed up too. I'm gonna be all the way honest. I don't even know how to round this video out or end it. I have no big speech or anything. I'm sick of seeing all the rainbow stuff get from marketing teams on every single platform, on every single maybe not Twitter so much anymore, but it's just every platform that is owned by these CEOs and has these marketing teams really that is just pushing all this stuff in everybody's face on and on and on and on and on. It's not just we're going to celebrate LGBT for this 1 month. It's all year long. It's every single time you download a game, you turn on a movie, you see a TV show, you hear some music, everything has this just constant stream of, we've seen this so much, and now it's almost you can't even have a conversation about it. And when you can't have a conversation about it, they, the rainbow folks want to have progress be made. They have a progress flag or 2 or 3 of them at this point and everything. But how can you have progress be made if there is no communication, if there is no dialogue, if there is nothing there? You will not even see other people's viewpoints because you're so just tunnel vision, hell bent on just changing the world and being part of something and being activists and everything else. The problem with that is that if there is no, if you don't even want to start to have a conversation because you don't even know if your viewpoints or if what you're thinking can hold up in a conversation, let alone a debate, then that's very 10 years from now, you're going to end up finding something is going to happen in life where you're going to end up figuring out oh, maybe I was a little bit off and wrong in what I'm thinking, or it's going to make your stance on wobbly ground of just the whole ideology that you're trying to surround yourself with. Most of the time, though, I think a lot of this stuff comes down to it's, people are just trying to go viral, and it's a social media thing. People are just trying to really, get those numbers up. They're trying to get a lot of likes. They're trying to go very viral and everything. And that in itself is just let that stuff come naturally. If you do something really cool, it's going to go viral because people really want to see cool stuff. They're not looking to be preached at. And I think that's probably the best way of going about ending this video is to say Call of Duty, you missed the mark hugely on this because you are now preaching at people. You are not having the conversation. You are literally censoring the conversation that could be had around a topic of discussion. Now, I get it in the entertainment business, kind of politics and religion, especially in the gaming world and content creation world of gaming and everything, religion and politics is usually kind of like rules of thumb. You don't really go there because of the fact that there is so many different opinions, and there's just so much drama and hostility and everything else that goes around those two topics. They're almost like taboo topics to talk about. But the way that the world is right now, in the situation that the world is in, there should be more conversation. There should be more hot topics being thrown out there, because people, if you can't talk about the topic that you're so invested in, do you really believe in it at that point? I guess that's where we'll end it right there. So yeah, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next time.